Almost everyone in our country has a view on whether Netaji was killed by the alleged plane crash on 18th August 1945 or if he survived. Yet, only a handful are familiar with the facts. That's primarily because the case is extremely complicated. The complex web of characters, locations, and the constantly evolving situation in August 1945 can be mind-numbing. As a result, most people argue from a position of belief, not facts. And this lack of familiarity has been exploited by many people to put a spin of their own to suit their own narrative. In this series, we will critically examine all the hypotheses regarding Netaji's fate in light of the huge amount of information that we now have that has been made available to us because of the transparency campaign undertaken by Mission Netaji since 2006. I will try to break down the events in a way that is easy to understand and remember. In successive episodes, I will take up the key events and try to answer the questions around them. Please do watch from the beginning till the end and do not skip. Skipping means you will miss out on certain vital pieces of information. To get the correct perspective for answering the question, what happened to Netaji, we must start with the events preceding the plane crash. However, while we look at the series of events that led to the plane crash, we must keep in mind Netaji's personal traits. This is important because these traits governed his actions, and there might be a story hidden there. Let's focus on 3 traits that are critical to this phase of the story. The first trait was that of meticulous planning. He was bold in his action, but rarely impulsive, and never without a plan of action in any situation. The best example of this trait is his planning for escape in 1941, hoodwinking the formidable British police and the spy network, leaving them clueless. By the time he was able to meet the Italian ambassador in Kabul, Pietro Coroni, in February 1941, just over a month after he had left home, he was ready with a plan to set up a free Indian government in Europe. Coroni was so impressed by Bose and his plan that he reported to Rome. If in June 1940, that is, at the time when the defeat of England seemed certain, we had a ready organization like the one Bose proposes now, it could have been attempted to liberate India, and it might have been possible. Last year's chance is gone, but a similar one could come this year also. Within a week of his arrival in Berlin, Bose presented a detailed memorandum on his plan of action to the German government. The second trait that is intricately linked with the first is his capability to adapt, modify, and innovate in response to challenging circumstances, in response to changing circumstances. Many a times in his life, he faced situations which seemed like dead end, but invariably he utilized the crisis to innovate, and there are many examples, but here are a few. First, when he was rusticated from the Presidency College, the future looked absolutely bleak, but he came back. Second, he prepared for a career in education, but on his return from England was turned into an administrator by Deshbandhu Chittaranjan Das when he was appointed the CEO of the Calcutta Corporation. Thirdly, hardly 6 months into that job, and he was thrown into jail in faraway Mandalay for nearly 3 years without any charge or trial. He utilized the time to prepare himself. Once he returned, he took to politics like a fish in water. Again, within 5 years, he was exiled and had to stay abroad for nearly 4 years. He utilized this time to work for India in Europe and to build his own network. On his return to India, he was selected the Rashtrapati. Faced with the opposition from the Congress Old Guard and eventually banned from the Congress, he formed his own party to pursue his radical brand of politics. And last but not the least, on the face of opposition from the leftists, the Hindu Mahasabha, the Congress, and the Muslim League government, he had his back on the wall. Then came the imprisonment. He chalked out a new course of action and left home to reach Berlin. It is in light of these traits that we need to look at the last 4.5 years of his public life. When things did not move according to his expectations in Germany, he shifted base to Southeast Asia. As the war approached its end and everything seemed lost, he was again ready with a plan for the next phase. Thus, he was not only planning but constantly reinventing himself. August 1945 was another such crossroad, when it was time again to do exactly that. He was not a person who would give up, at least not until India was free. The third trait that is absolutely critical to understand what happened in August 1945 is Netaji's ability to maintain secrecy. A trait he picked up from the revolutionary societies he was associated with. Information was shared with people only on a need-to-know basis, and even then, no one had the full picture of what was going on in his mind. There are many examples, and one of the most prominent among them is that not a single person ever came to know from him about the details of his escape from Calcutta. Till the very end of the Azad Hind government, he maintained that it was still not the time to divulge all the details. And as we shall see shortly, not even the closest of his associates had the full picture of his plans. So with this background, let's look at how events unfolded.